Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of MYOG, Make or Modify Your Own Gear. And today we're going to be doing a project. I did the first prototype about 8 months ago and been using it pretty regularly, and it's worked out really great. So I thought I'd share it with you all. And it has to do with my 8-inch skillet. Now, these skillets from Pathfinder are absolutely awesome. They make a great kit to go out there with a plate. And here I got my salt and pepper, and I got some utensils in here. Well, we're only missing really one thing to complete this kit and make it truly outstanding. And that is a good spatula. Well, looking at a lot of the spatulas that are on the market, they seem like they're designed only to flip. I'm talking about the camping ones. They seem they're only designed to flip like a postage stamp. Pretty disappointing, pretty small, pretty puny, and expensive to boot. So I started looking at what I could build to fill this niche. And this is what I came up with. A modified spatula similar to one I use in my kitchen. Now you might be looking at this saying, hey, there's no way that's going to fit in there. Well, it breaks down, it folds down. And it folds over, this tightens back down. Now we have a pretty compact setup that fits right in there. And bada bing, bada boom, we have a kit. So, I'm going to show you how I made this, how simple it is, and we'll go from there. The first thing you're going to need is the correct kind of spatula. Now, I've listed several different types of spatula, 2 different brands that I have already converted. I'll show you them at the end of this video. Right here, this is the one, basically, I just showed you. It's a Winco stainless steel. Very simple, very straightforward spatula. Now, if you decide to try to use some other spatula that maybe you find in the store or maybe you find online that's cheaper, let me warn you, I've already done that, and once I took it apart, this is what I found. A cutout. Without welding this up, this is not usable. So, if you use any other spatula than the one listed in the description, you're on your own. And I wish you good luck. So, the tools we're going to need for this, you're going to need a drill and bits, including Forester bits, a handsaw, a rotary tool with assorted bits, files, measuring devices, rulers, etc., assorted wrenches and ratchets and sockets, a center punch, some clamps. Consumables. We got craft sticks, wood glue, doweling, tung oil for our finish on the handle, or use the finish of your choice. I like tung oil because it is non-toxic. Sandpaper, bolts, stainless steel, washers, stainless steel, and most importantly, a stainless steel rivet nut. This is a rivet nut. And this one is stainless steel. This one is threaded for 1/4-20 English threads. They do make these in metric. The closest size to the one I'm using here in metric would be like a 6mm. Okay? First step in converting one of these is to take your spatula that you've chosen from the list and a center punch. We want to punch as near to the center of these rivets as possible. Creating these divots, and we want to drill out these rivets. Once you have the rivets drilled out, you'll be able to remove the handle, and you see what we're looking at here with the tang. So for now, I'm going to set this aside, and we're going to concentrate on finishing up the handle. You're going to need these extra wide craft sticks, i.e. tongue depressors. I'll put a link in the description. I got these offline. They're really, really nice. Now, ideally, these would slide right inside this kerf we have here. These are just a tiny bit too big, and it starts to spread this. We don't want to do that too much because it could crack the handle. So, what we're going to do, we're going to take our measuring device, measure halfway, mark a line, take a knife, and we're going to score this so I can break it right in half. Okay. And what I want to do is I want to sand these down to where they will fit inside here without spreading that. So that's our next step. So I have these pieces sanded down so they'll fit in here without spreading this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue them in. And you really do need 2 pieces to do this. Just smear a little glue on here. And put it in. And I try to line this up in the center of those holes. Because one piece, you're going to have gaps, so you need 2 pieces. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now we're going to do... smear that glue on there. All right. Okay. Oops. And of course I snap a piece off. And I snap another piece off. I'm just doing great today, ain't I? Okay. I got those lined up where I want them. Wipe off any excess glue. Go ahead and clamp this sucker up. And we just leave that clamped until the glue sets. Now that glue hardens on our handle, we're going to go ahead and go back to the spatula portion here to work on. Now we want to do 2 things to this piece right away for our build. First thing is this hole right here. We want to enlarge that hole to fit this rivet nut from behind. Second thing is, you'll notice this has a taper out. It tapers out. We want to remove some of that material and make it more straight. So using a straight edge, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to eyeball it. And I think something like that. And do the other side. So I want to remove this little bit of material and make this more of a straight instead of wide. And you can do that with a file, a grinder, what have you. Just get it done. All right. We have this evened out and our hole drilled. Now, when I first drilled this hole, it was a little big. You want this hole to be tight when you put this rivet nut in. So I took an old screwdriver. You can see that here. I took an old screwdriver and a hammer and I just kind of tapped it in places to shrink the hole. So now I'm going to have to force this rivet nut in, which is what you want. You want this to be nice and tight when it goes in there. There we go. And now we are ready for the next step, which is taking a marker, turning this over, marking right there. Get that guy out. Okay, we want to measure back from this line that we marked 1/4 of an inch, or about 6 millimeter. And it's difficult because this thing is not flat. There we go. So we want to measure back 1/4 of an inch or 6 millimeter. Make a mark. Try to make it as square as possible. This is where we want to bend this piece right here toward the top of the spatula. So we need to put that in a vise and go get it done. The spatula in the vise right up here to our mark. And we're going to use a saw face hammer to bend it over. And you want a 90-degree bend, just like that. And this is what we are left with. Now what we want to do is we want to measure from here back 1/8 of an inch, or about 3 millimeter, and use our rotary tool and cut the excess off. Using my rotary tool, I cut off the excess here. And now we have our functional lip, about 1/8 of an inch, or 3 millimeter, 3 or so millimeter, you know. Now we need to set the rivet nut into this hole permanently. In order to do that, you're going to need a few things. You're going to need a bolt that will thread into the rivet nut. So in this case, 1/4 20 bolt. You're going to need a nut for the bolt, and you're going to need a washer. All right? Then you're going to need 2 wrenches that fit the nut and the bolt. And you're going to need a vise. So we're going to go out in the shop, and I'm going to get this set up and show you how it gets done. Okay, so we have the nut and bolt. This is all snugged up against the rivet nut. Go ahead and put your ratcheting guy on here. You want to get it over the nut, and you want to have this set up to where it'll tighten. Then you want to put the other wrench on the head of the bolt. You do not want the bolt to move, but you want to tighten this right here. And that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm still having a problem with the nut rotating in the hole because I made the hole too big. So I have secured the stem part here in the vise, and we're going to try to do it this way to keep it from rotating, and we will see if I can get this to work. I'm not going to lie, this is not easy. It takes a lot of force. I think it's working. Maybe. There is a tool to set these rivet nuts. The problem is everyone out there, except for a very few, are made in China, and they'll only set a few nuts before they strip out. You need a good one that's American made, or maybe even made in Taiwan, but you're going to pay over $100 for that tool. So you might not want to spend that, so you're down to using wrenches like I am here. So let me reef on this for a while. We'll see if we get it. If you see right here, it is starting to bulge a little bit. It's still a little bit of play, but I think I can hook it up in the vise now and get a better angle on it and crush it the way we need it. It took a good amount of force. I'm not gonna lie, that was difficult, but you can see how this rivet nut is fully seated in here now. I had only, what, little over 1/4 of an inch, maybe 7/16 or so travel, maybe 8-9 millimeter. but it seated the nut. Now I can go ahead and remove this, and now I think what we're going to do is we're going to clean this up. Back to the handle. Once the glue has set up, we're going to drill out this back position here to the size of whatever doweling you have. I have 1/4 inch doweling, so I'm going to drill this out 1/4 inch. Maybe you're going to drill yours out 6 millimeter because you got 6 millimeter doweling. I'll see you in a moment. We've drilled out our hole here 1/4 inch. I went ahead and I cut myself a pin, also 1/4 inch doweling. I'm going to go ahead and glue that in place. Alright, wipe off any excess glue, and we need to let this set up. You want that to protrude a little bit out of the bottom so you can sand this flat. Now we wait for that to set up. Once this has set up, the pin, going to take some masking tape and we're going to mask around the larger protruding end here at the top. So we've got this all masked off. I have a pull cup. This is a flush cut saw. I'm going to cut this excess off here. And if you do it right, notice I said if, not saying I'm going to do it right. The tape is to keep you from scratching the handle too much. There we go. So, look at that. Now that can be sanded down. The other side can be sanded down. The next step after that is want to remove as much of this craft stick as possible. So I'm just going to come in here with my Swiss Army knife. And take it out. There we go. Now I can go ahead and I can saw this off right here. Okay. Now I can go ahead and I can sand all of these surfaces flush, and that is the next step. Once you have everything sanded down, so the next step is to pick a side that will be your top and what side will be your bottom. I'm going to use this side as my top because this chip out right here will be able to take care of that in the next few steps. So we want to drill 1/4 inch hole all the way through right here, or 6 millimeter. And this is optional. I've marked out a spot here on the back where I'm going to put a lanyard hole. You don't need a lanyard hole on this, but I like it so I can hang it up at camp if I want to. I have my 2 holes done, my lanyard hole and the hole for the mount. Now, I'm using a stainless steel washer here, and I'm going to find a Forester bit that is the same diameter as this outer diameter of the stainless steel washer, and I'm going to inlay so that stainless steel washer will lay right there. And if you notice, that's where I got that little bit of tear out. Once that's done, you won't even see that. It'll be gone. So we have this area here worked out with the Forester bit to where our stainless steel washer fits in here, nice and flush. You'll have to go 1 drill size up on whatever you drilled this out, so you will fit your bolt. In this case, I have a 1/4 by 3/4 inch long Allen head, and this is the bolt we are using for our assembly. So the next step is to take your spatula, and if you notice, this barrel here from the rivet nut is a lot larger than this hole. So from the bottom side, we need to enlarge this hole to where it'll accommodate this barrel nut, including this bulged area, to where this will set flush against here. So we're going to drill this out and accomplish that now. But we don't want to drill all the way through. We only want to drill, if you look here, all the way but about 2 or 3 millimeter or 1/8 of an inch. So you want to drill all the way, but not all the way. You want to remain 1/8 of an inch of material here. So I'm going to do that right now. I've got the bottom drilled out. As you can see, it's all stepped. Largest diameter accommodates the flare, and the rest of it accommodates the rest of the rivet nut. So that when you put this on here, as you can see, it's flush. It's nice and flush, and that's what I want. Okay. Now, the next step, I'm going to take some washers I have here that fit over this rivet nut, put them on there. Take our handle, pop our washer in, and using our bolt, I'm going to screw this on here. And we're going to snug it up, and I'm looking at it here to make sure that it's straight. So this is what we're looking at. Now when we flip this over, this gives me a spot on the back where I can mark out where I'm going to cut my kerf. So right here, I'm going to mark it on the inside and on the inside. Okay, so when I take this apart, I should have, yep, there's a mark, and I can go ahead and deepen that mark. And between these two lines, that's where I'm going to cut my kerf. So this edge, when this is mated up, rests inside that kerf. So I'm going to cut that with that hand saw right now. See if I can do this without making a big mess. I don't have to go super deep. And you want to check this often. Alright, I need to come in a little bit. So I'm just going to widen this kerf right there. Alright, that looks pretty good. And basically, we're going to keep working with this kerf until we get everything fitting perfectly. A little bit of work, a little bit of sandpaper. I got the kerf working very well. So now when this is together, mates up, it's in the kerf, it works. Put this washer back on here, put our bolt in. And when you tighten this up, you have yourself a working spatula. Now there's just one more step left to do here. Now that we have all our fitting and all that done, we want to take extra fine sandpaper, sand this all down, make this as smooth as possible, and put your desired finish on here. Me, I'm going to use some tung oil because it's non-toxic and it really brings out the grain in the wood. I've got this nice and sanded down. It's pleasing to me. I'm going to use some tung oil. And basically you just rub this in, get it into all the nooks and crannies. If you do this right, you might have to do this a few times. This being brand new wood, it was kind of dry. It's going to suck that oil right up. But look at that. Look at the grain. Ain't that beautiful? But you keep rubbing this in till it won't take the oil you put on here. And then I'm going to hang it up by this lanyard hole, let it dry, and do this again. And then over the course of a week, I'll give it a little bit more oil every day until it won't take oil anymore. And it'll be good. And then the only time I'll have to oil it again is about once a year. And that is how you do tung oil. You do tung oil a lot of the same ways that you do boiled linseed oil. So that's what we do. So here are the 4 different spatulas I have converted. I'm going to keep one of these. The rest of them I'm giving away as gifts to a few friends of mine. But let's go over them. These 3 right here are all Winco brand. This one is the Winco fish spatula. I'm going to have links for all these down in the description. This is the Winco Hamburger turner, and they just list this as the 5.5 inch blade, this one, which I think is pretty dang handy. This one or the fish spatula I think has the most use. This especially not only for turning stuff and all that in a frying pan, but for deep frying as well, like fried chicken, stuff like that. This one over here is a Mercer cutlery, specifically a Praxis with rosewood handle. I thought I'd make something really fancy for somebody I know. And that tung oil finish really brings out the wood grain, as you can see. And that pretty much wraps up this MYOG. Make it, don't make it, that's up to you.